Fabio Wardley versus David Adeleye, 12 rounds in the heavyweight division. This might be the best fight on the Fury and Francis Ngannou card. This is going to be a good one. If you want me to do a little bit of a prediction for Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou, if you want me to get that video up, let me know in the comment section below. I wasn't going to do it, but if you want me to, then we can go ahead and get that going. But I have been seeing the back and forth between these two, and you have seen the mix-up that happened about a month ago with their crew and with each other. In the press conference I saw last week, Adeleye was saying, he was talking heavy. He was saying, man, I'm faster than you. I'm smarter than you in the ring. I hit harder than you in the ring. I'm more athletic than this guy. I move better than this guy. My chin is better than this guy. And I was just like, whoa, so you just all around better? I'm like, yo, I like the confidence, man. Talk your talk, build a fight, sell me why we should bet on you. Let's get into it, though. Let's start with Fabio Wardley. 16 wins, no losses, 15 wins by way of knockout. Wardley has gotten some notable wins on his resume. Eric Molina, who fought some of the top heavyweights in the division, Nathan Gorman as well, Simone Vallet as well, and he stopped them all. Wardley offensively, man, dude's a beast, right? He's got power, right? I like the way he puts his combinations and his punches together. He's got the toughness to him as well. There was a lot of talk around him in the beginning of his career, people saying, man, this guy's a hype job. Like, he's overrated. He's not that good. And I'm like, man, you guys are some tough critics. You guys are some tough critics. But at the same time, you also got to give them room to grace as they're coming up, as they're building, because you know, as the competition picks up in sports in general, you are going to go up against some people, some individuals that are going to test you. You're going to get into the ring, especially in boxing. You're going to get into the ring with some soldiers because you are going to see if you are ready for war. You cannot hide forever inside of the ring. And so we knew we were going to get that from Fabio Wardley. It's just when he fought Simon Vallet, who fought Marius Briedis back in 2016, that was going to be a bit of his first test, right? And in that fight, he was moving very well. The athleticism was showing in, the angles he was taking was very, very nice as well, too. The speed, the accuracy of his combinations were sharp. He was quick. He was precise. But things changed very quickly, as we know that it can in heavyweight boxing, when Vallet was pushing Wardley back on the corner. As he was doing that, he walked right into a hook from Wardley that stumbled him, backed him up a little bit. And from then, Wardley took advantage of him, let off some punishing, ripping shots to the body, to the head, and closed out the show in convincing fashion. It was a great win for Wardley, but there were moments throughout that fight as well when he did get hit cleanly, but he got the win. So we move forward. When he fought Eric Molina, he was tested again there. You look at Eric Molina's record, you're like, man, this guy has a bunch of losses, but those losses were also to some quality guys. So he had experience and he had strategy. You know, he's got that veteran tactics to make it tough for the young guys to kind of find their way and their groove. So what he lacked in athleticism and power at that stage in his career, he was able to make it a little bit tough for Wardley. Molina caught him with a lot of straight hand punches early in the fight and was backing Wardley up in the fight. It was kind of, you could kind of see it was kind of frustrating for Wardley because he just couldn't really figure out how to really assert himself, because Molina knew how to keep the distance and he knew what he needed to do at the right time in order to create separation, but also make those shots come through and land. Even if it wasn't a punishing shot, it was a shot that was going to make Wardley think, man, how do I get ahead of this? And it took Wardley a little bit to kind of figure him out. Right now, in the fifth round of that fight, things were very interesting, man. Very interesting round, because Molina caught Wardley with the shot that wobbled him and stumbled him, and he fell back to the ropes. I was just like, oh, man, how you going to get out of this one? Don't overreact. Like, stay calm, right? Because that's what most fighters do. When they're hurt, they just start swinging and swinging and swinging, and it doesn't always work out in their favor. But in this case, that's exactly what Fabio Wardley did. man, in that same sequence, when he fell back on the ropes, right, Wardley took advantage of an over-committing Eric Molina and caught him with a short left hook that landed cleanly, and Molina did not get up from the canvas, and it was over with. It happened so quickly, I had to watch it again. In that situation, his power bailed him out. Fight or flight type of mode sometimes can be a good thing. It can work with you or it can work against you. In this case, it worked with him. But again, Wardley did get hit cleanly and got clipped a bunch of times in that fight. Last year, he stepped into the ring to face his toughest test yet, Nathan Gorman, right? In the first round of that fight, man, I thought Gorman was getting the best of Wardley, pushing that jab through and slipping in uppercuts all in the same sequence. Whenever Wardley let off combinations, and whether they landed or they didn't, man, Gorman immediately almost had a response and countered shots of his own, right? And Gorman looked comfortable. For the first round, he looked comfortable. Wardley has some blood on his face gushing down. I was like, man, now we are going to get to see what you're made of, man. Are you going to panic when things aren't going your way? Are you going to have to find the maturity and the composure to still believe in yourself? That's an important part of life. Anytime that you get hit in life, it is an opportunity for your character to show. We were going to find out what was Fabio Wardley made of, and man, did he respond in a beautiful fashion. For the first 20 to 30 seconds of the second round of that fight, man, it looked kind of similar, right? But then Wardley caught him with a shot that slowed him up, and it was just enough for him to come in and let off more punishing shots, and it caught Gorman and dropped him for the first time. Gorman got back up and fought back, and they were both going back and forth, and Gorman got clipped again, and he got dropped again. He clipped Gorman, I think, 3 times in that fight before his corner threw in the towel, and Wardley came out on top. But you could see the excitement after he won that fight because it was a big test for him, and he responded in the way that champions often do. Got to tell you, to be honest, man, I was very impressed with that fight, right? Yes, Fabio Wardley took some big shots. Yes, his defense isn't the best, right? Yes, he's got flaws, but man, he has that heart and that will that it takes to be a champion. He's still raw in many forms, but he's shown that he can dig himself out of a tough position and find a way to win the fight. It also helps when you got, knockout power. That's always a nice thing to have as well, too. In his last fight, he fought Michael Coffey, who was a much more physically bigger fighter than Fabio Wardley, but I saw a much more controlled Wardley. He was using the jab a bit more, feinting and truly taking his time. There were times when he got a little overconfident and was standing in the pocket a little too long, and he got countered and got clipped with that overhand left of Coffey. But for the most part, I thought he fought well. I was hoping that fight would have went the full 10 rounds because I thought it would have been a good learning fight for him to face a guy like Michael Coffey, who was tough and durable and tricky and crafty, and was going to force Fabio Wardley to find different ways how to let off the shots that he wants to get. I thought he got stopped a little prematurely, right? Because Coffey knows what it's like to face a big puncher. He sparred with Deontay Wilder. But again, thought the stoppage was a little premature, but Wardley did his job. Thought it was a good performance, but he's going to need to be careful against David Adeleye because, man, that power is no joke. But let's talk about his opponent, David Adeleye. 12 wins, no losses, 11 wins by way of knockout. The first time I saw Adeleye, I don't even remember the opponent that he was facing. I just remember the punishing right hand that his opponent took, and his opponent's knees was just buckled and just dropped to the canvas, and it was over with. I said, man, this man has some type of power. He's got that one shot type of knockout type of power. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's explosive, and he punishes you whenever he lands. He punches with bad intentions, but he's still a little raw as well in some forms. When he fought Kamil Sokolowski, who doesn't have the best record, I think he has 21 losses or something like that, but he hasn't been stopped a whole lot in those losses. And I actually think that he got popped for some banned substance, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I think I read about it very briefly. But I was expecting that. I wasn't expecting that type of fight between those two, man. I was expecting it to kind of be a one-sided fight. But when the fight started, yeah, much different story. Sokolowski, to me, won most of those rounds. He was pushing the pace, using the jab, putting forth simple combinations, 1-2, right? Left hand, right hand, left hand. He was landing consistent overhand rights, shuffle stepping into shots, and then shuffling back and moving out the way and resetting his feet. Adeleye looked like he was trying to box more than using his strength and power to his advantage. Maybe he was working on stuff, but, you know, he was just staying on the outside. But it was like minimal jab, minimal work. And he was getting caught with shots and he was smiling through it. But I'm like, no, you're kind of losing the fight. Now is not the time to smile. You got to let the hands go a little bit. He just looked a little hesitant to me in that fight. He had moments throughout each round, but I really didn't like that game plan. Again, I don't know what was going on in the camp. Obviously, we can just do it from the outside looking in, but man, I don't think that was the right game plan against a guy like Sokolowski. I thought he got outboxed that night, and at times he looked a little bit desperate and tried to close out the show all in one shot, and then he got caught swinging and missing wide. Right in the last round, the last 20 seconds, he caught Sokolowski with a shot that wobbled him, but he wasn't able to close out the show and because the bell rang, right? But as he was walking back to his corner, man, he was sucking for air. Like he looked exhausted. He looked winded. And that was 6 rounds, right? But personally, I thought he lost that fight, but he got the nod from the judges. So that's all that matters. A few fights later, he fought Dimitri Bezus, and he closed out the show with the knockout of the year candidate. But before that, Bezus was putting a little pressure on him, using the jab to move in, but came in way too confident and weary of the power of David Adeleye. In his most recent fight, he fought Emir Amatovic, and he had only lost to Filip Hrgovic to that point. So he knows what it's like to fight a guy atop the division. But Amatovic, man, was 10 years older than Adeleye, and it showed. Adeleye was too powerful, too explosive. He was just too much of everything that night, man. But I did think it was a better composed, complete fight from David Adeleye. I thought he was patient. I saw some much better defensive movement, right? Better than I'm used to seeing him be. He was confident too, you know, feeling himself. He was taunting a little bit. And you could see the mannerisms of Amatovic, man. He was discouraged, man. There was nothing that he could do that night. He had nothing for him. And so I'm glad that he didn't go into the fight because he would have got stopped. So I thought his corner saved him from getting knocked out. Again, I thought it was a good decision, a good performance from David Adeleye, but this is going to be a much different fight, man. It's not going to be like his previous fights before, in my opinion. So I thought it was a good, improving win for David Adeleye. So who wins? Both men don't have the best defense, right? They're both there to get hit. And if one shot connects from either man, that could be the shot that closes out the show, or at least leads to closing out the show. I also could see a situation where one man lands a clean shot and stumbles him. And as he is going in to close out the show, he's coming in a little too overconfident, the chin held high, and the person who was stumbled lands a shot and that person gets stumbled. So it could be a nice little back and forth fight. Both men have not been past the 6th round. So if it goes that long, who's going to tire out first? A tired fighter makes more mistakes, right? We know both men can punch, but who is going to hold their fundamentals a little bit better? Who's going to be more disciplined? Who's going to make adjustments if need be? I think if Adeleye is going to win this fight, I think he's going to try and get it done in the first 5 to 6 rounds, man. I think Wardley's technique is a little better. His footwork is better. And I think that will favor him in this fight, especially if it does go into the 7th round and beyond. I think he holds his stamina a little better as well. I don't think both men are going to engage a whole lot as much as the back and forth between these two. I think they'll play it safe and take the open shots and engage in spurts. I like Fabio Wardley to win this fight by decision. I just think he's going to focus more on countering and boxing on the outside rather than engaging inside the pocket and brawling with someone who can punch just like him. But, you know, I also don't think we should blink either, because one shot could end it, and it could end at any moment. But I do think this fight goes the distance. Knockout is definitely probably the safer bet. I think Fabio Wardley will win this fight, and I think it goes the full distance. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're enjoying the content, enjoying the videos, getting something from it, and would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe. Share it with a friend. Like the video, engage in the community. Or if you'd like support by way of donation, you can find options, Cash App on the screen, PayPal in the comments. Or I hope that you consider becoming a member. We got 2 different tiers. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel, and your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.